Hi,
Hi, everyone.
everyone. Welcome to the July Garden Tour. This tour is going to be just a little bit different. Instead of showing you every single plant in every single area, what I thought I would do is share the highlights of each section of the garden and then also share some of my challenges and then the solutions for dealing with them. And maybe this will help you if you're a brand new gardener just starting out, helping to deal with the challenges of the summer garden. So we're going to start down below in the chill zone. If you're brand new to our channel, welcome to the Chill Zone. The Chill Zone we built a couple of years ago and we named it that because we love to chill down here at night and just enjoy the garden and the evening sky. It's one of the first garden beds we planted in the springtime. It's going crazy. Got the scarlet runner beans, the pollinators are loving that. We're pulling beans off those every single week. The dwarf teddy bear sunflowers are one of my very favorite flowers of the summer, and the bees and the butterflies love those too. But the star of the Chill Zone really is the Diva cucumber, producing tons and tons of little baby cucumbers, humongous leaves, and this is a really special cucumber. It's what's called a parthenocopic cucumber, which means it does not need bees in order to pollinate. So if you look up and down this plant, it's got tons of little baby cucumbers all over it. And while it's definitely one of the highlights of this raised bed, it's also been a little bit of a challenge because it's been growing so fast and it's been challenged to keep up with the growth. So what I've done, so to make it easy for me, is I've got all my plant support clips right here in this coffee can. So I could just grab it, pop it open, I keep it right here in the raised bed, and that way I can easily clip up a wayward stem, like this one here is shading out my golden nugget tomato. And these clips are just so easy and they make supporting your plants just an absolute breeze. The Diva cucumbers are such a productive variety. They're actually growing up and over the trellis, and we've got a ton more cucumbers even on this side. I mean, look at how crazy these plants grow. So if you want a productive cucumber, I highly recommend that you plant Divas. I actually just added them to my late summer garden seed collection. It's not too late to plant them. You can direct seed them right in the ground right now, and that way you have a really good crop of brand new fresh cucumbers when your current crop is starting to die out. When I planted this raised bed, I used the strategy of thrillers, the tall plants in the back, the spillers, the little sunflowers over the edge, and the fillers in the middle. And beans are a great, great filler for a raised bed. We've got a ton of beans going on here. We've been harvesting them from them for several months. They're a great quick crop and also good to plant in the midsummer for late summer harvest. Now, a good strategy to use, and I talked about this in my June must plant video. You've got to watch that. If you didn't, there's tons of garden tips in there, but these plants will be dying out and reaching the end of their life in probably another month or so. So what I've done is I planted some other beans in 6-packs here so that when these plants are ready to pull out, I've got some brand new plants to take their place so I can continue to get a harvest even in the late summer. I hope you enjoyed this look at the Chill Zone, and let me know which tips of these you're going to apply in your garden. So let's move over to one of my favorite areas of the garden, and that is the fountain planter. Now this really is the centerpiece of our garden. It gets the most sun in the garden all day long. And here I always plant my sun-loving plants and flowers. So we've got peppers. We've got our big tall sunflower in the front, which I'll talk about in just a moment. And then around the back here, this year I planted my dahlias. Now I haven't talked much about my dahlias, but they are one of the things that bring me the most joy in my garden. I absolutely love the flowers. You dahlia lovers know exactly what I mean about that. Got a nice tall one that came back from last year, let the tuber in the ground. And around back here, I planted some brand new dahlias in some really nice tall tomato cages. One of the most beautiful parts of the fountain, in my opinion, is the sunflower. It's about 10 feet tall, maybe even 15 feet tall by now. So the challenge has been supporting it. So the solution that I came up with for that is I pounded in a T-post and then put a nice tall stake in there. And then I tied the sunflower to the stake as it grew to support it. Now the challenge is it's outgrowing my stake, so I'm going to have to get a smaller stake. But what I do so I can tie it up at a moment's notice is I keep my twine here right on one of my sunflower stalks. And then that way I can just climb up, tie it off as it grows. So where there's a challenge, there's always a solution. You just got to get creative about it. I like using the twine because it's nice and sturdy and it has a little bit of give to it. I don't like to tie it too tight. That way the sunflower can kind of move around in the wind, which also helps the stalk be stronger too. Now let's head over to the Hill Garden. One of my favorite things is going on here at the Hill Garden for the summer. First off, I love walking into the Hill Garden under the passion fruit vine. Tons of passion fruit going on here, and we're going to be having lots to harvest later on in the summer. But one of my favorite things I did so far this year are the tomato string trellises. And I've gotten so many great comments from those of you that are trying it, and I'm really glad that you're enjoying it too. It's really being effective here in my garden this year with the tomatoes. But the challenge has been with the tomato string trellis, single stemming, is the single stem tomato plants. Some of them are splitting off into double stems without a dominant stem. So Cece, one of our viewers, made a comment on our video that really helped me solve this problem. Hi Kim and Camera Guy, I'm so excited to see you try this method. I have limited space in my backyard garden and I converted to this type of method 4 to 5 years ago. I'm a total fan. It allows me to plant more densely and in doing so, grow so many more varieties. Can I add a few tips? Of course you can, Cece. Always try to run your string under a sunleaf branch, which I'm doing here, instead of a fruit cluster. The leaf branch is stronger and will allow for more support. And you also may want to run a second string from the top because the heirloom tomatoes like to branch off and have another stem. So Cece, I really appreciate your suggestion. That's exactly what I've done here because several of these varieties are heirloom and they have branched off into 2 stems instead of 1. So I ran an extra string from the top at your suggestion and then brought it down here to support the second stem, and it's working absolutely beautiful. So I really appreciate your suggestion and it's working great. And I also want to thank Colleen, who gave me another great solution to another problem I was having. Colleen said, Kim, I'm trying the method you use to build a tall trellis. You need to get yourself some tomato clips though. They hold the string in place and no wrapping, much simpler and cleaner. Colleen, I've definitely switched over to these plant support clips. Thank you so much for your suggestion and for helping me solve the problem. Oh, and one more thing. With this method, it's very important that you stay up on the clipping and the pruning. So I keep my little can of plant support clips stashed right here in my planter, so it's easy to come out here and clip them up at a moment's notice. Even though my summer harvests are about a month behind schedule, cannot wait to harvest those tomatoes, I'm already starting to plant my late summer garden. As a gardener, you always want to be thinking about a month to 6 weeks out. What do I want to harvest in the late summer? Easy to grow vegetables, quick to grow vegetables that you can plant from seed and harvest in about 6 weeks. Tiny Tim tomato fits perfectly into that category. It's a determinate tomato, so a smaller tomato, but quick to harvest. This is going to be pumping out the harvest in August or September. But the problem is, it's hot now, it's July. When you put transplants in the garden, they burn up in the heat. So I cover it with shade cloth for about a week or 2 till the roots get nice and established, and that way this plant gets off to a really good start. When these tiny Tims that are growing right now in here are done, I'll have a brand new fresh tiny Tim to take its place. And there's lots more details on that in my July must plant video. Comment below and let me know what you're going to plant this month too. One challenge we had on the Hill Garden last year was the tomatoes were not getting enough sun exposure. We solved that with the tomato string trellis. They're doing beautifully, producing a ton of tomatoes. And the watermelon, which are actually right here, we moved over here. So we actually flip-flopped these 2 plants. So we've got the watermelon going on the A-frame trellis and it is doing beautifully. I'm loving how it's starting to climb up the trellis. With the heat, it's really starting to pop. And I just noticed today that we're already starting to get little baby melons. So I think the watermelon are in a great, great spot. So if something isn't working in your garden, I really encourage you to experiment. Flip-flop your plants, put them in a new spot. Find a spot where that plant is going to do well. That's their sweet spot. And you never know, it might start producing again for you this year. Coming here from the Hill Garden up onto the deck, I want to show you my little backup plant area. So just in case some of my tomato plants don't make it, I always like to have backups. So these are seeds I started, or plants I started indoors like back in January. Been continually up potting them, and I keep them here on my deck. I actually just stake them up and then tie them to the stake here with a little bit of the stretchy tie tape. And just in case any of my tomato plants die, I've got backups to take its place. But they're perfect here because they stay in the sun in the morning, shade in the afternoon so they don't get too dried out. And I know there's absolutely no way I have space for all these tomato plants in my garden, but it's good to have backups But the only problem is it's going to be really hard for me to get rid of them or what to do with them here in the mid-season. So if you have any ideas, let me know. I think I'm going to have to start walking up and down the street and giving some away to neighbors. Over here, the smart pots are doing absolutely beautifully. And I have to show you the squash we hand pollinated a couple of weeks ago. We're going to be picking it tomorrow and putting it on the grill. It's this gorgeous scallop squash. And hand pollination really does work. So if you're having problems getting your squash or your cucumbers or your melons to grow, go back and watch that hand pollination video and you're sure to get lots more melons and squash and cucumbers to harvest. Now in here is my Golden Jubilee tomato plant, one of the first ones I planted, just getting ready to harvest. Now when the tomatoes start coming on at the bottom and then work their way up. So the bottom tomatoes are just about ripe. Maybe next month we'll be able to do a harvest video, so stay tuned for that.
Phase 3 deck expansion is 97% done. This was so exciting to put in these final planks. It just feels so good. We
sure
can't
does.
wait. We did this ourselves to save the money. What we did was we extended the deck 5 planks or so that way, and also back there.
Back here is our brand new Smart Pots deck. So we're gonna super waterproof this baby, and a lot of our Smart Pots are gonna have a special spot right here on the end. Can't wait. Let's talk about the pollinator garden. The challenge here is it's gotten totally out of control, which is a great problem to have. Now it grew way more than I thought it would because we removed 3 trees right here, you might remember, for the deck expansion project. And with all the sun exposure, the flowers grew absolutely crazy. We got the pink and white mallow growing here, which are actually reaching the end of their life. The zinnias and the butterfly and the bachelor's buttons are just starting to pop up, and the dahlias are soon going to be coming into full bloom. So what I did to solve this problem is I actually installed 2 little wire garden fences in here in the middle so the flowers wouldn't flop over. They're about 3 feet tall, but they're just enough to keep the flowers and the mint, which by the way is about shoulder height right here. I've never had mint this big. It's amazing what sun exposure does. So I've got the fences installed in the middle through the pathway. I put one of my wooden towers in this middle planter to allow the dahlias to grow up through the middle. And around the front here, I installed a nice lightweight little fence. I made it out of some tree branches that we cut down and wound some nice thick sturdy twine around it to make a really nice kind of whimsy organic garden fence that is just enough to keep the zinnias and the other flowers from flopping over the garden bed. Thanks so much for joining us on the July garden tour. Let me know if you've ever had any of these same challenges in your garden and if you found any of these solutions helpful. Thanks for watching. See you next time in the garden.